Welcome back. It's just gone 8 a.m. this Friday morning, meaning we're into the final hour of the Privyet Russia week, but we're not slowing down. No. Lots to cram in, including going dotty for donuts. Moscow welcomes Krispy Kreme to the capital.
Yes. But first, of course, we can't help but mention the fact that Sergei Sobyanin has been sworn in for a second term as Moscow's mayor. The ceremony took place at the military park, Poklonny Hill, yesterday.
But the runner-up in Sunday's mayoral election, Alexei Navalny, is still disputing the official results. Today, he filed a complaint with the Moscow City Court. Roman Kostyrev has been following the events. He brings us up to date now.
Well, Sergei Sobyanin was inaugurated at the World War II Museum as he was handed an official seal of the Mayor Large Chain, marking the first time the ceremony was held outside of the City Hall. Now, this is the second time Sergei Sobyanin takes up the post of the head of the city of Moscow after he took over from Yuri Lushkov just 3 years ago. Now, the election last week saw him claim 51.37% of the votes, while his nearest rival, opposition activist Alexei Navalny, claimed nearly half as much, 27.24%, and those are the official results of the City Election Committee. Meanwhile, runner-up Alexei Navalny claims that the results of this election were falsified, and he demands a public recount and a second voting round. On Monday, Navalny gathered his supporters for a rally on Bolotnaya Square near the Kremlin, where he proclaimed the birth of a large-scale opposition here in Russia. And in the aftermath, he filed 951 claims in the Moscow court in order to cancel the results of the election. Now, it took quite a lot of paperwork, which supposedly amounted to 50,000 pages, and apparently it required some special transportation. Now, Navalny explained in his blog that he has proof of bribing voters as well as falsification of the home voting results. Meanwhile, the experts covering the elections, well, they stressed that this particular vote was the most transparent to date. As for Sergei Sobyanin himself, well, he has definitely his work cut out for himself, and will probably continue on what he's set out to do 3 years ago, back in 2010. And problems in Moscow are more than evident, primarily if you happen to be a driver. Now, Sobyanin began tackling the transportation issues which are paramount here a while back, and now he promises to continue modernizing routes like above-ground transport and, of course, extending the metro links as well. Among other things, the new mayor will also work on modernizing the healthcare system, promoting sports, development of primary as well as secondary education, trying to give them state-of-the-art facilities. And other important issues include the well-being of pensioners, security, fight against crime, illegal immigration, and of course a general strive to make Moscow a more comfortable city to live in. And something that might be important to the opposition, well, Sobyanin wants to implement a very effective system that will involve all Muscovites in what's happening here in the Russian capital, well, enhance the decision-making as well.
All right, well, it might be the AM, but it's still Friday, meaning we have a pass to talk alcohol. And we don't mean Beknarzi and his famous cocktails, we just saw it, but Russian wine producers and their quest to become a force in their own country.
Yeah, this month, the Union of Wine Growers and Winemakers of Russia will submit to the State Duma amendments to federal laws to help stimulate homegrown output and fight against foreign competitors.
One of the biggest obstacles is that of obtaining licenses and getting startups off the ground.
Yeah, and the thing is that people may not know about Russia. There are lots of areas, regions in the country with the right conditions for cultivating grapes, such as Krasnodar Krai. Now, that is the main area. And during the summertime, like really great weather. We know there's not a lot of rain compared to other countries when you never quite know what's going to happen. So really, a lot of European winemakers also know this, and they've actually come in and they have their own vineyards, etc. what the Russian winemakers are really saying is that, yeah, okay, we're fine with that, but there are laws in our own country that are stopping us. These really anti-alcohol laws, they call them, saying that, you know, it's different for vodka than it is for wine. It should not be so stringent across the board.
Exactly, and also the Union of Wine Growers and Winemakers of Russia says that a good natural wine from Russian grapes could easily cost no more than 150 to 200 rubles, which is up to $6. It's nothing. It's very cheap for Russia. We know how extortionate some of the prices are here for wine, because we're mainly talking about for wine from other countries, not Russian.
Well, one of the interesting things as well that I found was that their argument is that, okay, we know there's an alcohol issue in the country, but what if, and it's a big if, but what if, you know, we add more alcohol, right, onto the market, but it's more natural. It's wine instead of
better, and it's
sheer
not as harsh.
spirits.
It's not, yeah, exactly.
They're saying, you know, this could be the thing that could kickstart people into drinking, if there is such a thing as better alcohol. And I think there is. You know, instead of the bottom shelf vodka, etc. It's one of those things.
Well, the union also hopes that something will be changed which would improve their chances, and that's to advertise wine. Because as we know, you can't at the moment any alcohol, but they're hoping that when it comes to domestic grapes, if that, you know, if it becomes easier, then they'll be able to advertise it. But first, wine lobbyists are saying that one of the things that needs to be sorted out is, because when you obtain a license, you need to get licenses from the fire department, health inspectors and ecologists, and it's basically a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tape, and that makes it harder for those who are trying to put this wine on the market to do it. So simplify those procedures, and they're hoping that these amendments will take effect before the end of 2015, or they will be considered at least. So
let's get going, let's get moving. I'm going to just add a fact, my union's fact for the day. You know, even when I talked about Krasnodar, it's great temperatures in the summer, but it goes into really minus figures during wintertime. How they keep the vines from withering. How? They put soil on top of it. So a lot of work. You have to cover all the vines with soil so that that keeps in the heat. When spring comes, the soil is let go, and then the vines grow again. There you go. Yeah, it stops the frost getting in. There you go. All right, next year doesn't just see Russia host its first ever Winter Olympics, but also its first ever Winter Paralympic Games. But how does the nation rate in terms of general accessibility for disabled people? Not great is the answer. According to a report released this week by Human Rights Watch, Russia's disabled population are still, quote, facing an uphill struggle. That's due to a lack of proper infrastructure and general discrimination, the report went on to say. The 118-page summary, titled Barriers Everywhere, interviewed 123 disabled people across 4 regions in 6 cities, and mainly focused on their daily routine. Now, let's just say that there are 13 million people with disabilities living in Russia. That's 9% of the population. And this is one of the first things I noticed when I moved here, just how inaccessible a lot of buildings are to them. And what I find shocking is that till this day, and this report states that, is that when it comes to emergency services, a person cannot contact them if they don't have a relative. For example, there is a deaf woman called Nina in this report, and she says she has to rely on her son to make appointments with the doctor because there are no ways to make appointments through the internet. By the way, I know some clinics where you can make it through the internet, but I'm not sure if all the public ones have that. Let me just put that clarification there, because there are some, they're starting. Okay, and also, but emergency services have no text messaging system, nothing. How can you, this is just unheard of. Yeah, like it's things that we obviously don't think about every day, but for them it is an everyday struggle. And also ramps. They said that public buildings do not necessarily always have ramps, and this is definitely something that they need to consider. And because being disabled doesn't mean that you can't live on your own, doesn't mean you can't find a husband or a wife, doesn't mean that you can't find a job, but
unfortunately, so far in this country, it's really, really hard for disabled people, and they need to take it more seriously. And hopefully, again, not that it requires the Paralympics to do that, but hopefully through that event, it will happen not only in Sochi, but across the country.
One of the things I'll just say that the report did say that was there was some positivity coming out. Things like service buses had wheelchair ramps added. I've seen some of those. Talking traffic lights, which when I first moved here, I couldn't believe they hadn't. How does a blind person get across the 16-lane road sometimes? And also changes at schools, making them more accessible in parts. But I completely agree. There's so much work to do in the cities.
Sorry, can I just say one thing, because you mentioned blind people and traffic lights? I actually did a report on that. And you know how there are raised pavements with raised surfaces, so that basically if a blind person is walking with their stick, they can feel, and depending on the pattern, it will tell you to go forward or whether there's a danger ahead. Well, basically a group went around the city and discovered that many of those surfaces were placed wrongly and would in fact lead a blind person in the middle of traffic.
It's things we don't even think about. It's such a hardship. It's unbelievable.
But I know that they're working on it. It's just taking a long time and it's just going a bit slow. So hopefully they'll do something about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's talk about fitness, okay? It's our final fitness fling of the week. Alexander Nevsky is standing by, as always, to get us fighting fit for the weekend ahead.
Wednesday, it was biceps.
Was it?
It was. Thursday, it was triceps.
Okay.
And our three-time Mr. Universe is arming up once again today. Sasha, take it away, sir.
Hello, my name is Alexander Nevsky. I won Mr. Universe 3 times. I did some Hollywood movies, but I owe my success to bodybuilding and fitness. And that's what we promote here at Russia Today, every morning. So today, I want to show you how to train your forearm. Even if you don't do arm wrestling for your living, you have to have strong arms. And 3 best exercises, which I want to show you, really will help you to have strong forearm. That's the first exercise, like that. Don't pay attention to my big dumbbells. You can use small dumbbells in your home. Or, if you live here at Ritz-Carlton Moscow, you can use same dumbbells as me. But in your home, you can use whatever you want to use. Very small dumbbell, doesn't matter. So 12 reps in every set. 3 sets total, that exercise. You can see how my forearm works right from here. That was first exercise. For that part of forearm, right here. Now, we'll change position a little bit and do different part of forearm. As a second, right here, like that. Like that. Again, 12 reps in every set for that part of forearm, right? And what I want to tell you is very important. If you're a woman, don't try to do it with a big dumbbell. Definitely. Use very small one. Very small one, And third exercise. That position. Like that. Same 12 reps. 3 sets total in every exercise. Like that. You probably watch all that advertisement on TV, and they always want you to buy some magic machines or whatever. Using that dumbbells, you can really build your forearm without any magic machines. So that exercise for that part of forearm, that exercise for that part of forearm, and that exercise for that part of forearm. Very easy. Like that, and like that. And also very important is to be positive all the time. Because we all have some troubles, It doesn't matter what we do for a living. We do bodybuilding, or we do television, or we do movies. We always, have some troubles, whatever. Just don't pay attention to that. Stay positive. Stay always in a good shape, Believe in yourself and believe in your family. It was Alexander Nevsky. We'll see each other soon. Thank you.
Actually, do you know who's the biggest fan of Alexander Nevsky?
Tell me.
It's Medina Kochinova, and she's here with us in the studio.
She told me once she likes his voice or something.
Yeah, she does.
The powerful.
It's inspiring.
It's very inspiring, actually.
Yeah.
I just want to run to the fitness, to the nearest fitness after I just, looked at the I'm just like, oh my God, I need to work out just right now.
Sasha, you've got your #1 fan right here.
Yeah, it's me over here.
Excellent stuff.
That's true.
But you're here for Morning Money, Medina.
Yes, I'm here to deliver the latest business news for you, and we're going to start with something serious, as the Russian government has decided to cut budget spending over the next 3 years. Now, that's bad news for state employees hoping for a pay rise. But there is good news for consumers. The government's also freezing tariffs charged by natural monopolies, which means gas prices and train fares won't be going up. Now, Lindsay Franz join us with the details.
Good morning to you both. Now, to combat inflation, the government wants to cut its spending over the next 3 years in a number of sectors, 2 of those being state investment programs and weapons programs. Now, just for next year, which is right around the corner, there will be no salary increases for employees who are a part of government companies, as well as for military servicemen. There will also be a freeze placed on natural monopolies. Any tariffs or fees going to the customer, there will be a flat freeze on those for next year, for 2014. In 2015, there will be no value-added tax benefits for certain companies that are enjoying those right now. And then in 2016, all money from Rosneft's 20% stake sale will go to the budget. Those are just a couple of the areas that have been outlined so far that are going to feel the squeeze right now. Now, there are some areas that Russian law forbids budget cuts. Those are pensions, state scholarships, and social welfare payouts. So those are going to remain the same. The reason for this is essentially that the Russian economy grew only 1.2% annually in the second quarter. There's a variety of reasons for this, 4 of them being falling investment, stagnating demand for oil and other commodities, as well as high inflation, and of course the capital outflow. So that's proved to be a big problem, and also what's expected is the government budget will be taking a hit of 1.7 trillion rubles in falling incomes from all sectors except for oil and gas. Now, when it comes to those when it comes to the freeze on the natural monopoly tariffs, we're talking gas, electricity, and railways. So that would be Gazprom, Russian railways, and OAO, Russian grids. And this is the first time that a decision like this has been made since 1999. So it's been a long time since anything like this has been enjoyed by households who are always experiencing an increase in the cost of running a house. Now that's going to be frozen for 2014. And now the Russian monopolies have reacted, of course, Russian railways saying loud and clear that it will not, that it is not at all happy about this, that it in fact it may plan to fire staff in order to cut costs. And it was the very first to express unhappiness. Of course, none of these companies want to face the fact that these cuts are coming. Now, next week is when the 3-year budget will be published, and that is when more specifics will come to light as to what exactly will be cut and who is going to essentially face the axe as far as the budget is concerned.
Now, a study has shown Russia to have one of the world's biggest wage gaps. According to a consulting company, Hay Group, top managers earn on average 12.5 times more than ordinary staff, and that gulf is still growing. For comparison, bosses in the United States and Europe earn on average only 3 or 4 times more than their subordinates. There are plenty of factors behind the large income discrepancies in Russia. The low minimum wage and the high bonuses paid to owners and top managers are factors. Also, workers who remain in the same post for many years generally don't receive significant pay rises until they are promoted.
No wonder everybody wants to be boss.
Or be promoted. Yeah, but then we have to take into consideration that this survey was published being based only on official data, official companies' disclosure information coming from really big multinational corporations. And we have to remember that there are those small and medium-sized companies where sometimes, and sometimes very regularly, they give bonuses in so-called envelopes.
Yeah.
So it's not being officially registered. So that means that gap between the wages of top managers and other employees may actually be smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but officially, it's big, isn't it?
Yeah, officially it is
quite
big.
a size.
But still, we are waiting for the state officials to impose some sort of restrictions and limits to limit on bonuses for top managers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the same initiative was followed, happened in different European countries. You remember we've discussed that issue a couple of times.
Yeah, we have.
And also they should really, if the minimum wage is so low, they should also consider lifting that as well.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, considering the fact that the inflation is now really growing pretty fast, and you know, the average standard of life is just getting more and more expensive. So of course that should be done. Something to think about. Right, now to other news. Russia's biggest airport, Domodedovo, has finally revealed its owner's name. Now it's Dmitry Kamenchik, who is also the airport's chairman of the board. The company says it has disclosed this information to comply with new transparency rules. Kamenchik, who is 45, has a personal fortune of around $1 billion, which only makes him Russia's 108th richest person. The airport's ownership structure had long been something of a mystery, even to the Russian government. Now, the government ordered it to reveal shareholder information back in 2011 after a terrorist attack at the airport. And Domodedovo did in fact disclose names to the public when it was preparing for an IPO around that time, but then it canceled those plans, and Kamenchik later played down his role, insisting he was only a contracted manager. Now, worrying times for Russian borrowers. Consumer debts reached a record 300 billion rubles. Mortgages make up about a third that figure, according to the National Bureau of Credit Histories. Meanwhile, the central bank has expressed concern over the alarming growth in bad debt. In the first half of the year alone, their share in total bank credit portfolios grew from 5% to over 6%. Some analysts are playing down the figures, saying overdue debt is often paid off eventually. Others, however, are warning that the large number of people who have more than 5 loans at once is dangerous for the economy. And finally, Ukrainian vodka maker Nemirov has halted production at one of its distilleries since August 29th due to a lack of bottles. Now, the deficit appeared as another twist in a long-lasting shareholders' war. The bottle-making and distilling operations are owned by 2 different groups of rival shareholders. The company responsible for bottles delivery to the plant was sued by their owners and had to hold supplies till the conflict is resolved.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. It is. But it's pretty funny. It's true.
Lack of bottles can halt production of such a huge company.
And actually, experts, in terms of business issues, experts estimate that approximate margin losses can actually hit $1.5 million in revenues. That's huge for this just a month of a halt of production due to lack of bottles.
Well, Russians consume a lot of vodka, so I can imagine where those losses would come from.
And it's also an interesting, some interesting things are really happening now on this, Russia CIS markets, and companies that used to work really closely together. Those shareholder battles are taking place every month. You remember the Uralkali now, the still ongoing saga,
of course.
Pretty huge now. Then the Russian company, the Ukrainian sweets, and all those disputes with the Russian government.
Moldova now.
Yeah, Moldova, then Georgian wine, and there are lots of different things. They used to be all cool, everything's okay. The trade continues.
And then the EU came knocking and said,
the WTO as well.
Yeah,
exactly. To take you under our wing.
Yeah,
and Russia said, no, stay with us. It's all very political and interesting, though.
Right. Well, that was all the latest from the world of business.
Beautiful.
I
Thank
hope
you very
enjoyed
much.
it.
Have a great day. Have
You
a great
too.
weekend, in fact.
Yeah, enjoy your weekend.
And yes, hopefully we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Medina.
All right.
Okay, well, we have some news in brief for you. These are pretty much Moscow-based. As we know, the city has been working hard to become a cycle-friendly city, but it's still got a long way to go. The few bike lanes that appeared over the last couple of years are proving a little too popular, but with non-cyclists. Pedestrians enjoy walking on them, blocking the way for two-wheel travelers, and worse still, cars routinely park on the lanes. The authorities now plan to tackle the problem with warning signs and special traffic lights. And those who break the rules will be fined. New rules on bike lanes will be also included in the city's traffic code.
Authorities are cracking down on illegal parking. Up to now, drivers face fines of around 3,000 rubles, what's that, $100 or so, for leaving their cars where they shouldn't have. But they didn't have to cover the cost of their vehicles being towed away. That is set to change. From Sunday, the tow charges for motorbikes will be 3,000 rubles and from 5,000 to 7,000 for cars, depending on size. And if the owners don't pay up and collect their vehicles promptly, the costs start to mount up. 1,000 rubles for each day spent in the car pound, in fact. For truck drivers, it's even worse. 27,000 for the towing and 2,500 a day in the yard. Currently, around 1,300 illegally parked cars are towed away each day in this capital city of ours.
Okay, to a disturbing story now. Moscow police have launched a criminal investigation against a mother who was caught on camera beating her son. In the video filmed by a bystander, she can be seen striking her son for dropping his hat and then threatening to sell his organs. That incident happened in the Mazhaisk district of Moscow. When the man with the camera reprimanded her, she lost her temper and attacked him. The video has gone viral on YouTube, sparking a lively debate and getting the attention of Russian children's rights activists. Police managed to identify the woman. Turns out she's a former traffic police officer. And while according to most of her neighbors, she reportedly routinely beats her two children. If convicted, she could face 2 years behind bars.
Well, I'm not a parent, and I know parents have, they've got tough times, etc., etc., but there is absolutely no excuse for the threat she was making. In fact, laying a hand on the child at all, threatening to sell the child's organs. The child, it's a toddler. What kind, and toddlers, they soak up information. They don't just forget about it the next day.
And
it stays with them.
This could become a future criminal because the mother is treating him the way she is. Or he could be disturbed, or he could have psychological trauma for the rest of his life. And women like that should not be locked up for 2 years. They should be locked up for far longer than that and then be supervised and,
It's somebody videotaping this particular incident. How many hundreds of thousands of similar incidents are just not seen? But it takes something like this, and I applaud the guy who did it for sticking out his neck while being attacked and going on to...
And can I just say, the neighbors who now are reporting that she's been beating them routinely, why didn't they call the police? Why didn't they get involved before that? Or perhaps they did, but nothing was done about it. That's the problem, And for example, in the United States, people are more scared of incidents like that because the minute there is a suspicion that the child was even touched, social services are knocking on your door. But in this country, we're not quite there yet. We're not there yet.
I do feel sorry for the kid. It's horrible to see anything like that. All right, to brighter stuff now. St. Petersburg has launched its bid to host the Euro 2020 football tournament. The European Games governing body, UEFA, is planning to spread the championship out across Europe with matches in up to 13 different cities, in fact. But the semi-finals and the final will take place in the same city.
Now, the bids will be considered in the Croatian city of Dubrovnik in a week's time. And Tom Barton has more on this continental quest.
St. Petersburg may indeed be hosting 4 matches as part of Euro 2020, as well as hosting matches for the 2018 World Cup. That stadium in St. Petersburg, the Zenit Stadium there being rebuilt, so there will be a stadium there. However, it's thought chances of it being included as a host city after Russia's already been given the World Cup rather slim. Technically, it's not impossible. They are different contests. But I think some onlookers seeing it as a little bit greedy to want to do both of those. Also, big questions about whether Russia can really put on a World Cup in 2018 that's worthy of the name. There's been allegations of massive corruption already with the starting with the preparations of those 11 cities in Russia for that World Cup. The new mayor of Yekaterinburg, Yevgeny Roisman, saying that is it really a good use of money anyway to put all this money towards stadiums when there are other social needs that needs spending on? Attitudes as well, big questions over the attitudes of some football fans in Russia. Roberto Carlos, playing for a team in the North Caucasus, notoriously had a banana thrown at him by fans in the Russian city of Samara, and in this very city, St. Petersburg, that we're talking about, he had a banana taunted and waved at him at one match as well. Two separate racist incidents by fans that really brings into question as to whether some of those fans will give a good showing for Russia at that World Cup. And also questions over the potential for violence, ethnic tension between fans from different ethnic groups and regions of Russia. We've seen vicious clashes in the past. And also the tendency of some of these groups, they're called ultras in Russia, the extreme fan groups, the tendency of them to associate themselves with nationalist groups inside Russia, also potentially very worrying. Last December, it was decided that the 2020 Euros would not be held by one or two countries, but would be spread out across those competing countries in cities across them. So we've had some entries, potential entries from countries you might expect, Germany, the UK, but also some others from outside the EU, Serbia and Turkey potentially putting forward cities. 13 cities will be chosen at the end of the day. The initial list will be compiled next week, and the final decision about which of those 13 cities will be for Euro 2020 will be announced next year.
All right, enough football talk. I want to talk culture and entertainment, and I've got just the guy who knows how to help me. It's Martin Andrews.
Good to see you.
He's here for the last time this week.
It goes fast, doesn't it?
And as well as that, don't be too scared, but it's Friday the 13th.
Da, da, da!
And you have just like a hair sticking out right in the middle, and it's just great.
It's all a mess. Well, if you're not too scared to leave your kvartiras, let's see what you could possibly enjoy this weekend. Let's talk about the Iceman film, first of all. It's a film that many people are talking about at the moment. It's meant to be absolutely great. It scored not too bad regarding all the databases and movie sites. It scored 67% on Rotten Tomato and 6.9 out of 10, so almost 7 out of 10 on the out of 10 on the IMDb movie database. What is it? Well, it's a Scorsese-style hitman drama from America. It was actually last year it came out, so it's taken a long time to get to Moscow. Goodness. It's a crime thriller directed by Ariel Vroman, based on the life of the notorious mafia hitman Richard Kulinski. Interestingly enough, when he was arrested in 1986, neither his wife nor daughters had any clue about his real profession. It stars Michael Shannon, Winona Ryder, Chris Evans and Ray Liotta. And the Iceman screened at the various film festivals all around the world, Toronto for example, and it did very well. So I'm pleased that you have the chance to see it here, although it may not be the movie you could take a first date to, because it's about sort of secret people.
Why not? In case she gets scared, then it's like,
Embrace
although would you
me.
want someone like that? But
It's not a first date kind of film, is it, Ewan? You want a
I
chick
like
flick or something?
gangster films. I don't like going to the cinema and watching chick flicks, though. You know, if I can help it. Isn't there a happy medium between the gangster and the chick flick?
what would that
A good
be?
drama.
A disaster film.
There you go. Winner.
Yeah,
Everybody wins.
Yeah. That'd be
That's why
good.
they're so popular. There you go.
I think so.
So the halfway house.
Why not? Moving on to the Vinzavod, if you want to fancy going down there. It's located near Kurskaya. They've got an exhibition at the Regina Gallery at the moment. It's on until Halloween. The 31st of October.
Your favourite holiday.
My favourite holiday. I can't wait. I'm having a big party on November the 1st, by the way. You're all invited. Basically, this is the exhibition of Sergei Zavra. And he is a Ukrainian artist who is transforming the gallery. He calls his project the Library of Optimism. He has several exhibitions in Moscow, and this year he's participating in the main project of the Venice Biennale as well. What can you see in the pictures there? Well, there are 6 cupboards, typical for the Soviet times, in apartments of maybe like the 60s and 70s, and they form the centre of the exhibition. It possibly looks like an old furniture sale, if you ask me, but still, Soviet items, be it furniture, they can be seen as kitsch, or they can be seen as, you know.
I just think that perhaps they could have put carpets on the walls as well, just to give because it looks cold and those brown, ugly.
It looks bare.
Yeah.
But maybe they wanted to focus the attention on what they represented.
Maybe.
We've all
socially and artistically, and
we've all had the experience, haven't we, when we move into a Moscow flat and the landlord or the landlady will say with such pride, look at this beautiful case and the beautiful woodwork. And you're just thinking, how early can I get that out of here?
I tried.
The amount of the apartments I've had in the last 8 years, and I've been forcing things in cupboards and rearranging all the doilies.
What about the wallpaper?
And the wallpaper.
Oh, wow, that can be so bad sometimes.
And the collection of bells and whistles and the collection of horrible plates with all these. I mean, they're not horrible at all, don't get me wrong, but they're just from a certain time.
We'll miss it when it's gone. We will.
But it's like
nostalgia.
It's like the 70s in the UK, you know, so we're not just being, you know, teasing Soviet style here.
At least the carpets are gone.
They are.
Okay.
And also, Soviet style, in many ways, is coming back. And there are many people, look at Simichov, for example, who are making lots of money fusing the past with the present.
And listen, tease away all you want, because everybody pays the rent, and high rents at that as well.
High rents at that as well. I've got my landlord coming around to collect money. Why can't they do direct debit in this country?
Oh, because they're hiding it. Come on, Martin.
But they do. They hide it in the UK and they hide it in other countries. But it means that you don't have to meet the landlord or clean up every month.
I suggested that, and my landlord was like, no. And if anyone calls, don't tell them.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't answer the door to anyone either.
Do not answer the door. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about jewellery, and this is the collection of the masterpiece. We're always talking about, you know, elaborate jewellery and elite jewellery and Tiffany and Gucci, Prada. Look at these pieces. I think they're quite interesting because...
That's the only thing that's semi-decent.
You like the first piece. These pieces that you said in the last album, they're too flowery for you, aren't they?
They're just hippie, I don't know.
They're too hippie, flower power perhaps?
Yeah,
Do you not think that they represent rural Russia?
No.
Because they've got sort of, you know, the old traditional headpiece that they wear in the, you know, the Russian... Or they did wear in the Russian villages.
Well, they did. Not to be offended. Well, I don't know.
Kokoshnik. That's, I think I remember what it was called. Yes.
Even people in the villages don't wear that.
They do on a holiday, on a special fate day. I've seen them dress up.
Older people, perhaps.
Okay, sure. So do you not think you can again fuse the past with the present?
Maybe hipsters can try it, okay? But I don't know.
Well, it works.
The first piece, if it is real and not one of those trinket, you know,
sure.
then it looked all right. It looked
Plastic
kind of
fantastic.
elegant. Yeah, but I think it was plastic fantastic, wasn't it?
Possibly. Who knows? Well, a girl who does know is our VIP arts correspondent, Jadwiga Dymachowska, who met the designer, Linovich, her name is, her surname, and let's see what she says about the jewellery in question. Take a look.
You just it's lovely.
Okay.
Check it out. It's just in 5 minutes.
Okay, so when you don't have time to make your hair, you just, you know, make a ponytail or let your hair down and wear this.
And you are like a princess, like little queen.
Okay, and this is all handmade, right?
Exactly, that is all handmade.
And you make it yourself, or you have some people who do it for you?
What I'm really, because 3 years ago I worked in special association. The aim of this association, it was the government aim to help Russian art and craft to survive. The idea is that we use a lot of old-fashioned village types of art and crafts, and we order our pieces in little villages in
Also,
middle Russia.
Babushkas were making it there.
like babushka making all this. We use dry grass, the straw. We use handmade laces. We use kakhlama. We use Russian porcelain, like gel. And we make all our orders, we make in these little fabrics to help people to actually to survive and to keep their school alive.
Okay.
I return them back the orders.
Oh, okay.
So I learned how it was in old time, and then I make it very modern, very updated, and I give them an order, and they make it for me for order.
Okay. I presume anyone at home can basically just, be inspired by these, get an idea, and kind of go buy some, I don't know, some stones and threads and all that kind of stuff and make it themselves.
Almost every month, we make a kind of master class.
Oh, okay.
Even today we make the bracelets. I think that if you check your box with jewelry, you find a lot of chains, a lot of beads that were broken, and you want to just throw it out, and you can get this inspiration and make it
so
from
like
your
second life from old jewelry.
Like reborn. It's called reversible jewelry. It's even it's a kind of jewelry that we make from old parts, and we also use vintage parts, for example, vintage laces, in order to give them the new life.
And then when you come to master classes, you have to pay, or it's...
No, we make it, it's our, I always say that if you want to get something, you have to put the energy and to put something into your, in the field where you work.
Okay.
So for me, it's like not charity, but you know, it's
get
like
inspiration from
yeah,
those
it's
people,
like a part of my soul because I really love it.
Well, she looks like a very sweet, good-natured person.
And she's selling it as well.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're in the mood for something like that, Zoom is where it is, or just, try and find it online, Masterpiece.
Can I put you in the spot?
Go for it.
Zoom and Goom. Which is which?
I still
Anybody
don't know.
in the gallery know the difference between Zoom and Goom?
The one is right next to, by the Kremlin, and the other one's right next to the Bolshoi Theater.
Ballet.
Goom is on the Red Square.
We've been told, okay.
Goom. And then Zoom by the Bolshoi
So
Theater.
if somebody tells you we're meeting by Zoom, you're meeting at the Bolshoi, to say, no, it's Goom, meeting on Red Square.
But at least it's about a 7-minute walking distance one from the other.
Yeah, not too far.
Yeah.
Sussed it out.
Okay, right. Here on Privet Russia, we like to encourage foreigners in the country to look further afield than the big cities and discover the so-named real Russia. But now, after a poll published yesterday by the Public Opinion Foundation, it seems it's the locals themselves who should be encouraged to see more of their home country.
More than a third of Russians have never travelled within their own nation, while those who have, few go beyond Moscow, St. Petersburg and southern Russian resorts. 55% of residents from other regions said they had visited the capital. So Moscow is the #1 spot. That comes as a bit of a surprise to me in tourism terms, yeah.
Why?
I would have assumed it was like St. Petersburg, because it's always known as the jewel of the north, the nicest big city. It's said to be St. Petersburg. But I know there's people with so many relations here.
I think that
coming
because
to
the Red
visit.
Square and the Kremlin is so, it's such an iconic landmark that people want to come see it, even though St. Petersburg is more beautiful and has the palaces and...
And that's a point, because another one in the poll said that the most important national destination, a quarter of respondents said that all Russians should visit Moscow at least once during their lifetime.
I completely agree.
19% naming the Kremlin and Red Square as the country's most important sites.
What I thought was quite sad is the fact that not a lot of people would like to visit Lake Baikal, but they are not able to, either because it's really expensive to get there with by plane, or because it's the least accessible one. 11% said that they had ever seen the country's famed natural treasure.
I'd love to see it as well, but it is a long train journey away, and I'm not sure about the price of the plane. But I know it wouldn't be cheap.
Yeah.
Unless you get a deal someday, I suppose. This goes back to my point that the most desirable destination among Russians, St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
That's what they want to see. So that's why it was a little bit strange that Moscow is #1 for people visiting. I think a lot of it maybe is to do with they've got relations.
I feel like,
here
for example,
where people come.
If, for example, we were in the United States, a lot of people would like to see New York, but not necessarily Washington, D.C., right? Whereas here, because Washington, D.C. just has that, you know, the White House, but nothing much aside from that, as far as I know, from what we see on screen, you know, because
I like DC,
never visited.
actually.
Really?
Yeah, it's an underrated town.
But as a tourist, it doesn't really
point.
attract me to go there, whereas in Moscow, the Red Square is just such an iconic...
And it's one of the things you have to see before you die. It's on every travel list, isn't it? Really. What is the one place, do you think, in Russia that you've seen that would you recommend if people are coming here, maybe for the first time, they're thinking, you know, I've had enough of Moscow and St. Petersburg, I want to get out and see a little bit?
You're asking the wrong person. I've only ever been to one other place, and that's Yamal. And I wouldn't tell people
You like
to go
Yaroslavl, though, right?
Yaroslavl, it's one of the Golden Ring cities, right?
I liked it as well.
It is nice, but...
My tip, Anapa.
And I'm hearing in my ear from Natasha Shargatova, who's saying, our lovely helper, Suzdal.
Suzdal is nice as well.
Listen to her, she knows. A true Russian.
They're chattering upstairs thinking where you should go. Anapa gets my vote.
Yeah.
Right, I'm getting hungry, are you? It's almost breakfast time.
I know. Yes. Well, Russian donut lovers can finally rejoice because one of the global meccas of the fried confectionery has opened its first store in the capital. Krispy Kreme, of course, got proceedings underway yesterday in a premise near Red Square.
And there was one man who was more excited than most. A Moscow resident called Maxim was the first to step foot in the cafe after having spent 22 hours outside in the queue.
Russia is the 23rd country to welcome Krispy Kreme, with 5 more shops due to open in Moscow before the new year. Okay, I'm not a fan of sweets, but I would really try one. I would have it.
What's the other huge donut?
Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts has been here a while, but people are getting very excited about this.
I feel sorry for Dunkin' Donuts now, you know.
Well, you know,
huge competition.
Well, a lot of people might be doing taste tests. So their business might go up as well, saying one day I'll go here, I'll go there next.
Yeah.
We do.
Oh, they look yummy.
We do know that this young gentleman, Maxim, he was in the queue on Wednesday at 11 a.m. So he's there all day long, all night. You maybe do that for a concert or maybe the World Cup final or something. You get the best seat in the house, but for a donut, would you?
He was there how long in total? Because
22
they actually
hours.
22 hours, and there was a man who arrived an hour later. But what did he get? He actually gets to have a dozen donuts a week free for a year. For a year. And apparently it's not the only event like that he's attended. And he's not the only one who's done something like that, because we have a Londoner called Benjamin Easterson. He's become famous for attending more than 20 such openings, and he's in fact has a Krispy Kreme gold card, several of them.
He must be a cop. They love their donuts. Okay, Moscow police will be over the moon thinking all those stakeouts they're doing will become just like child's play now because they've got all these donuts they can eat. Listen, we talked to, or in fact we got the word from the Krispy Kreme international president. He was at the opening of that. You might have seen him in the pictures. Indeed. Let's have a listen to what he had to say about all those lovely donuts being open to the Moscow public.
I was just outside and I counted over 200 people waiting in line for the opening. So I think it shows that people are very excited about the brand. A lot of times customers, Russian customers or customers in other countries have tried Krispy Kreme on their travels, maybe to London or to the States or to other countries. And they get excited about it, they are on social media, and so now they can have it in their very own city.
Oh, it looks good, doesn't it? And when you have your cocktail, you need a drink.
Of course you do.
And it's Friday, so it means...
Beknarzi is with us, our cocktail king, and what I really like today is not only the fact that he's using pomegranates, which is, I think, my second most favorite fruit in the world, but he's also dedicating it to 65 years
of North Korea being North Korea.
Yeah.
It's birthday time, and Beck is on top of all that. Let's have a look at his delicious concoction now.
This week, North Korea has marked the 65th anniversary of its founding. The country with its leaders celebrated with a parade. Hundreds of thousands of flower-waving worker peasant Red Guards gathered in the country's main square. So let's celebrate the weekend with the bright and red style. Let's make the drink, shall we? So the very first step in making a cocktail, please don't forget, is chill your glass. Like so. First ingredients. Fresh seeds of pomegranate. In this mixing glass, what we need to do is to take one of these dowels and release the juice. That's gonna give us a nice bright red color. The second one is to add a bit of citrus in it. That would give us sour note. Half a lime will do. Thank you. Some sugar. 20 mils right in there. That gives us a nice balance. And of course, the main hero in this drink would be this lovely home-infused thyme vodka. Double shot of that right in my mixing glass. Thank you. Voila. My mixture is pretty much ready, so it's time to add a little more ice and shake it. Right. Beautiful. Let's add more ice. And strain it straight in the glass. All right. That's not the last touch. The last touch would be to float this drink with this beautiful, aromatic, freshly made pineapple puree. Voila! And of course, the very last thing to do is to add some garnish. I've got this lovely pineapple chip to go right on the top of this drink. And to add a bit of freshness to it, this little mint sprig. How lovely is that? It's time to taste it indeed. Beautiful. Very good balance indeed. And by the way, I like the way North Korea is managed. It sort of reminds me a bit of my management in this bar. Don't you think so? So, have a great weekend, and I shall see you next week.
Was he pretending to be North Korea there at the end?
I don't know. All I know is that the guys behind him didn't look very impressed.
I think the acting was to a T if he was pretending to be North Korea.
Yeah.
I like the look of that.
And I think
really
that was at the City Space Bar, which has amazing views, by the way. A bit pricey, but definitely worth it at least once.
It's one of the places you should go in Moscow if you're here, especially on your holidays. All right, we're going to look at some other news stories that we are across this fine Friday morning. Tomorrow, in fact, you will get the chance to get a behind-the-scenes look at how some everyday products are made. Several of Moscow's factories are offering free tours. You can see the traditional non-alcoholic Russian drink kvass being brewed.
Nina's favourite.
Well, there's a little bit of alcohol in it as well, but not enough to get you. Or catch an inside glimpse of a modern printing house. You can even see beauty products being produced as well, whereas children over 7 years of age can take part in the tours, but the number of places is limited. Now, you can sign up through this email address, bezturnyketov@gmail.com, BEZTURNIKATOV, bezturnyketov@gmail.com. I think it's on the screen now. There you go. The list of all the factories participating in the event is available on the City Hall website. Yeah,
I just realized that Bez Turniketov it means without barriers or something like that.
And that makes sense. That you can go and actually see it being done. I am excited about the kvass when
I'm a fan of things like that in general. I like to see how things are made.
And it tends to be, you know, in terms of food, it's the more natural food because they want to show, well, it's their own promotion. They can say, look at how this is made, it's fresh, etc., and go along. I like you can get behind the scenes now at things like that. Moscow is opening up.
Although when it comes to them promoting maybe how clean they are or how natural they are, I wouldn't believe it by that because they know you're coming. Surely they would make sure that everything
put on
is
a
up
good
to
show, yeah,
But in general, I think it's interesting just to learn how things are made.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay, another story now. In Crimea, Ukraine, a man there has got on the wrong side of the law with his attempt to become a modern-day Robin Hood. Now, in April this year, the 34-year-old robbed a bank and then doled out the cash to passers-by. What was left of the money, the thief brought home to his mother. Now, he didn't have a gun. Mere threats were enough to persuade the cashier to hand over 20,000 hryvnias. That's about $2,500. Police arrested the man later the same day. Now, he told investigators that he considered himself to be Archangel Michael. After a psychiatric evaluation, he was ordered to undergo compulsory treatment. Most of the stolen money was returned to the bank. Even though this is a crime, I will have to applaud this man because he didn't keep the money. He gave it to passers-by. He gave some to his mother.
I found it just fascinating the way he got the money. I don't know if you'd see the pictures when you were talking there, but he just simply went up to the cashier and was talking. He had a pair of sunglasses.
Maybe he hypnotized them too.
That's a story we were talking about last week. But it was extraordinary how he got the money and just went ahead and gave it all away then, huh? A real-life modern Hood? Robin Hood? Who knows it?
Again, even though it's wrong, is it bad that I liked it? I don't know.
We'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Okay, here is my favourite story of the day, in fact. Russia's very own Flintstones. This is the video. Let's roll the video. A video of two men driving a car. Much like the Stone Age vehicles in the cartoon town of Bedrock has become a YouTube sensation, and why not? Unfortunately, though, the eco-friendly mode of transport is not likely to catch on. The men in the video only managed to keep going for 15 seconds. Look at them trying as hard as they can.
That's hilarious.
We love it. We love it here.
Only
Bedrock,
rural Russia. I mean, where was it? This was in Russia, wasn't it?
This is in Russia, yeah.
Love it.
And they did it with a lot as well, keeping it in the country.
If you've actually seen a video that you thought was really funny, it's Russia-related, maybe not even Russia-related, just an outrageous video that you would like us to show or talk about, you can send us your suggestions and ideas to privyet@rttv.ru or simply privyet@rttv.ru.
You can indeed. Thanks for joining us today. That is a wrap. We'll be back on Monday morning. Have an absolutely wonderful weekend.
And also don't forget that RT International is always with you 24/7, except for the 2 hours when we are on 7 till 9. We will see you again on Monday. Have a great time.
Bye-bye.